Hey FlossTube, welcome back. This is my 106th FlossTube video, and I'm excited to share with you what I have been working on. This video will be an update of everything that I did in 2021, so I have a lot to share with you. But first of all, I want to welcome you. If you are new to this channel, welcome. I hope that you enjoy the things that I have to share with you. And if you are returning, thank you for coming back and watching my videos. I really appreciate it. Since my last video, everything is going fine. We had a wonderful Christmas. We had everybody home and had some really great things happen right around Christmas time. It was a very special Christmas for our family and one that we will remember. It was really nice. It was kind of a quiet Christmas, but we really enjoyed being together. After Christmas, we spent about a week up north in Utah visiting my wife's family, and we actually came home without my wife. My wife is still in Utah. Her mother had surgery just before Christmas to replace one of her knees, and my wife is still up there helping take care of her. She'll be coming home soon, and we'll be glad to have her home. So the boys in the family have been home, and we have been kind of batching it and kind of dealing with all the stuff that comes along with just normal life, I guess. I've gone back to work. I had almost 3 weeks off work because I had a lot of vacation to burn. And so it felt really good to get that vacation. I actually completely forgot about work. Had a hard time remembering my password when I went to log back into my computer. But things have settled down into the normal routine, and I'm back to basically normal life now. Before we get started showing you stuff, I want to respond to a couple of questions that I received since I posted my last video. And the first question was from CharJ57, and she asked me where the Santa frame piece was from. Char, I think you are thinking about the picture that was just the Santa that was surrounded by a garland. That Santa is called the Spirit of Christmas. It was a design by Marilyn, Leavitt, Imblum, and designing under her Lavender and Lace label. That pattern is still available. You can still find it and purchase it. So it is available. Like I say, that's one of my favorite Santas ever. I really love that Santa, and I love how it turned out when I stitched it. Deborah asked me, she asked me about time and season sampler and mentioned that she had found errors in her chart. And Deborah, I have seen that too. Basically what I have noticed is that there are inconsistencies in the borders where you have a repeating pattern. Sometimes there's a little bit of a difference. And it kind of looks to me like she did the initial design for the pattern and then copied it all the way across, or however she copied it. And then it looks to me like she made some changes to the initial pattern but didn't copy those across. And so there's inconsistencies from one repeat to the next of the patterns. I've seen that in the border that surrounds the design, and also in the border that goes across the bottom. I haven't got to any other part of the design yet, so I can't speak to the rest of the borders, but I do know that there are inconsistencies in the borders in those two locations. And I have been looking at those and basically making corrections so that everything is consistent across the border, because I like that better. So if you are planning on stitching time and season sampler and you care about whether or not patterns are consistent, repeating patterns are consistent, you might want to just keep your eye out for that, just to make sure, you'll have to kind of just pay attention and make changes as you go so that everything's consistent. which is what I have done. Okay, like I said, this video is a summary, an update of what I stitched in 2021, how my stitching went. And to be honest, when I think about 2021, I feel like I have not been as productive as I have been in the past. There are reasons for that. As I've mentioned before, I had about a month where work was so busy that I had absolutely no time to stitch. So that contributed to it. And also, I have a lot of great big huge projects right now, and that is making it difficult for me to finish projects. So I'll show you a couple of graphs that kind of show this. This first graph is my start trend. As you can see, last year in 2021, I had 5 starts. That is lower than I usually have. So I did not start as many projects last year, and that's because after I did those 5 starts in May, I realized that I had really put myself into a big hole. And so I didn't start anything the rest of the year. This chart shows the number of finishes that I had last year. And you'll see I only had 1 finish, which is really low compared to previous years. And it's the same thing. I've got myself, I have so many things that I'm working on that that it's just not really possible for me to finish anything right now. And we'll talk a little bit later about what my plans are to kind of fix that. I'll show you this graph. This graph kind of surprises me. This is the number of stitches, cumulative stitches that I have done the entire year. And you'll see that the 2021 graph, I thought that I would turn out to be the lowest number of stitches that I did in a year, but it is just a little bit higher than the number of stitches that I did in 2018. So that kind of surprises me because I'm pretty sure that I stitched more in 2018, and maybe the explanation for that is in 2018, I think I was working on a couple of projects that were full coverage and complicated, and so I think that's what, in addition to the fact that I had I had several weeks in 2018 when I didn't stitch. I know that I didn't stitch in 2018 in May because we spent a couple of weeks in Europe, and so there was no stitching during that time, and there were other times like that in 2018. But it really felt like like last year I had stitched even less than I did in 2018. So I am a little bit surprised that my stitches are a little bit higher from 2018. And I'll show you my whip status graph. This is the graph that I show you all the time. And you can kind of see the problem. The line at the top is the number of days that I have to stitch on each of my projects. You see that there are a lot of projects that have a lot of days left to stitch. And so that just makes it, they're just great big huge projects, and it's just going to take a while to get to the point for when they are finished. So I don't anticipate that I'm going to have a lot of starts or a lot of finishes in 2021 even, in 2022 even. I've got to kind of work myself out of the hole that I have dug. And part of that means not digging, which means not starting anything, and kind of concentrate on what I am stitching. So that's kind of where things stand. Having said that, I'm pretty happy with what I did, all things considered. I'll show you finally this Pareto, which shows you what I spent my time on most. And the last half of the year, I made Amid Amish Life my focus piece. So you can see that I basically stitched on a Mid-Amish life for 66 days last year, which is the equivalent of just over 2 months. I also, at the beginning of the year, kind of did a focus to finish a piece. That was a Saviour's Praise, which I'm going to show you in just a minute. And so you can see that that one is higher than everything else as well. Other than that, everything else got like 10, 12, 14 days. And of course, that is just not enough time to finish a piece. So that kind of shows you where things went. I'm happy with my progress with the Mid-Amish life. I'm excited to show you where it is since the last time I showed it to you as well. So let's get started. I'm going to show you my finish from last year, and then basically it's just going to be going through all of the pieces that are active right now and show you basically how much I stitched on each of them. So before I do that, I've got to get something. Okay, so first of all, I'll show you the one finish that I had in 2021. And this is a finish that I'm really happy with. This was a Saviour's Praise by Theresa Venette of Shakespeare's Peddler. And I finished it at the beginning of the year. So it feels like it's been forever since I've shown you this, but this is my finished piece. And at the time, I think I said, I love how this turned out, and I do. I really love this design. This is an original design by Theresa, but it's meant to look like a reproduction sampler. And as I mentioned, as I stitched it, I made a few changes to this, so this is kind of my interpretation. I changed some of the words in the border, and there are places where there's a couple of placement errors and a couple of little bit of differences from the original design, just because I wasn't paying attention and felt like I could fudge things and nobody would ever know. And I can't even point to you where those errors are. So we won't call them errors, we'll call them my interpretation of the design. And you can see, I'll give you a little bit closer look. Now Thank We All Our God is one of my favorite hymns, which is one of the reasons why I wanted to stitch this. And of course, I just really love this piece. So yeah, so I'm celebrating my one finish of 2021. Okay, so there's my finish. Okay, I'm going to show you all my whips, and these are in the order from oldest to newest. And of course, the oldest whip that I am working on is also and I've got to get something else. So now I'm going to show you all of my whips. This is everything that is active. I'm going to show you 14 pieces in order from oldest to newest. And my oldest piece is my focus piece. It's what I've been working on. I mentioned it already. It is a Mid-Amish life, and you can see it here. It was an original design that was published in Cross Stitch and Country Crafts in 1987. You can find it in the March, May, and July issues of 1987, March, May, July issues of Cross Stitch and Country Crafts. It's also available in this book, 100 Best Loved Designs from Cross Stitch and Country Crafts. And it's also available as a leaflet. It was published in the last issue of Cross Stitch and Needlework in 2016, I think. So there are lots of places where you can find this design. It is still hard to find. I have people, every time I show this, say they wish they could find it. I'm sorry. But I think your best bet of finding the design is in Cross Stitch and Country Crafts. It is a series of 3 designs that you can stitch together as one, and that is what I am doing. I am stitching them as one piece. I am stitching them on the called for fabric, which is 25 count Wedgewood Lugana, and I am stitching with the DMC and stitching 3 strands over 2 threads. 3 strands because I was worried about that 2 strands wouldn't give me the coverage I wanted for this piece. And I'll show you what it looked like, not the last time you saw it, at the beginning of 2021, before I started working on it. This will give you a feel for how much I stitched this year. And if I haven't looked at it, I'm just going by memory, but my memory says that I have stitched a whole lot. And since you last saw it, when you last saw it, I was still working on the cross stitch. This last week, I finished all of the cross stitch. So as you can see, it kind of looks like it's finished. And all the cross stitch is finished. There's no empty spaces, which feels really good. It feels really good to have finally hit that point. So now I'm back stitching. If you follow me in the past, you know that I save back stitch for last, because that's the way I like to stitch. I know other people don't like to stitch that way. That's the way I stitch. So that's why. If you ask me that question, I'll just say, that's the way I like to stitch. And you can see I've started back stitching. So basically what I've done is I've started back stitching the first design, which is hanging the quilts. So there's some places where the back stitching is obvious and other places where it's not. I think I've got about half of the back stitching in this design finished. Where it's really obvious is you can see the slats in the house have been stitched. And that really looks nice. I like how they break up this sea of white. So I think that's really looking good. There's other places like some of the trees and the fields in the background are now back stitched. And the back stitching is 3 days worth of back stitch, and I've actually done quite a bit. I think in the past I said I thought it would take me about a month to back stitch. Based on my experience up to now, I kind of don't think that it's going to take me a month. Maybe a couple of weeks. Of course, I've got, I'm working through the colors, and the last color to back stitch is the most extensive, so I may change my tune, but we'll see. It may still turn out to be a month, but I'm really happy with what I've been able to stitch so far. So you can kind of see the difference. Like the clouds are back stitched, so you can see the difference in the clouds versus these clouds over here. They're now pop up. The mountains are back stitched, so they pop a little bit more than they do over here. And yeah, so things are going really well, and I am looking forward to finishing the back stitching. I was debating about whether or not to continue rotating, or whether in the past I've just backstitched when I start until it's finished. I kind of considered rotating, but no, I'm gonna work on this until it's finished. So hopefully the next video that I make, I will have a completed piece to show you. But there it is, Amid Amish Life, as published by Cross Stitch and Country Crafts. So yeah, so I've kind of been going through a slump trying to get through all of the cross stitching. It's now done. I feel really good about this now. So you'll notice that I have it in my scroll frame. I've got my extra long stretcher bars on the ends so that I can backstitch. I don't have to worry about scrolling all the time. And I really like that too. I generally don't like using those because my frame it's heavier. you can't reach up to, it's really hard to reach up to the top to stitch this stuff on top. So I generally don't work with that, but when I get to this point where there's a possibility that I'll have to scroll all the time, I'll pull these out so that I have the entire design exposed. So there's my first one. Let's show you my other whips. You've seen these all, but we'll just show you how much I've been able to accomplish. So my next oldest whip is this. This is Queen Anne's lace. It's a design by Marilyn Leavitt Imblum of Lavender and Lace. It's a picture of a lady in a fancy gown. There's no crown, but the name kind of indicates that she's the queen. Yeah, so I'll show you what she looked like at the beginning of the year again. I am stitching this on 32 count Dirty Linen, Dirty Belfast Linen. So yeah, it's Zweigart. Excuse me. And I am stitching with the called for threads. That's DMC with Krynic metallic, and I am stitching 2 strands over 2 fabric threads. And this is what she looks like now. She is, I think, close to half finished, and I'm getting to the point where there's going to be a significant transition. I'm starting to get close to the bodice. I have the beginning of the bouquet that she is holding, so I won't have this sea of yellow to work through every time. Also, I've hit the corner down here, so now my diagonals are the same size as I work up to this corner, and I'm actually not all that far away from that corner. So yeah, it's been I spent let's see. Yeah, it's been about a month since I last stitched on her. And my new rotation, I only stitched on her for about 3 days. But I really am happy with what I was able to accomplish. And she is, I've kind of got a deadline for this. It's got to be done in 3 years, and it won't take 3 years. So anyway, so there is Queen Anne's Lace by Lavender and Lace. Okay, the next whip is the Red House Sampler by the Sampler Company. That is Brenda Key's company. This was started in January of 2020. This is a stitch along. I don't think anybody's working on it more than I am right now. At least I haven't seen anybody in the stitch along post for a long time. But I've been working on her, and this is another piece. This is one of the pieces that I think I will be able to finish this year. So I'm hoping to be able to get another finish out of this. So I'll show you a picture of what this looked like at the beginning of the year. And I'm stitching this on 40 count Parchment by Week Star Dye Works with the called for DMC floss. I am stitching 1 strand over 2 fabric threads, and this is what it looks like now. So I'm really excited about this. I've hit the bottom of the design, so I just have this to stitch. There's a great big house right here, so I don't know how long it's going to take me to stitch that house. But I feel like the house and then this corner over here, I think it's very possible that I could finish this year. So I'll give you a little bit closer. This has been a really fun to stitch. I've really enjoyed stitching this, and I'm looking forward to being able to finish it. So far it looks really good. So you can see the last time I stitched this woman. We've got a man right here, and then the house. We're going to start working on the big house pretty soon. Okay, so this is the Red House Sampler, which is a design by Brenda Keys of the Sampler Company. The next design. This is Time and Season Sampler by Moira Blackburn. This was an anniversary present from my wife. She really wants me to finish this. So this is probably going to be, after I finish A Mid-Amish Life, don't tell her it's a secret, but I think this will probably be the next piece that I work towards finishing on. Okay? And I really enjoy working on this. I love the colors. I love the way it looks. So I'll show you what it looked like last year. And I think, if my memory serves, all of these other pieces, I don't think that they show a significant amount of progress. And I hope to change that this year. So I have actually finished, I am stitching this on 40 count Mallow by Zweigart. It's not linen, I think it's a cotton linen blend. It is something like that. But it's 40 count, so I am stitching with one strand of floss over 2 fabric threads, and I am stitching with the called for DMC. And this is what it looks like now. So I've finished the bottom. This is about the bottom third. And I'm excited to start working on this level that goes through here. And yeah, I really love how this is turning out. I love the colors. And like this border. This was what I was talking about. On the chart, this repeat of this border was different from all of the others. So I stitched this first, realized there was a difference, and rather than stitch these, I basically copied this as I went. Yeah. So I guess this border hasn't been a problem, but maybe there will be something up here that will also show the same thing. So, yeah. I've seen the same, so I mix these two samplers up, the Red House Sampler and the Time and Season Sampler. I have seen the same thing on the Red House Sampler, on the border that goes around. This border here is not consistent across the entire chart. So I am making changes as I go to make sure that that's consistent. These two samplers, they kind of mix up in my mind, probably because I started them about the same time. Anyway, so Time and Season Sampler by Moira Blackburn, and like I say, I'm hoping this is a finish, don't tell my wife. Okay. Next piece. This is a piece that I started for Mania in 2020. This is Anne Wilkinson, 1834. It's a reproduction by Cross Stitch Antiques. And yeah, this has been kind of a fun one to work on also. I'll show you what it looked like at the beginning of the year. And this piece I haven't worked on, I know I didn't work on this a whole lot in 2021. But I am stitching on Confederate Weeks, Confederate Gray, 46 count with conversion to Versoix 103 silk. This is the first piece that I started using 103 silk. I really love that silk. It is really nice to stitch with. So this is what it looks like now. You can see I'm working across the second band of the sampler. I've hit the halfway mark, so this should be able, I should be able to continue on with this. Yeah, I don't know if I will be able to finish this year. It stitches up pretty fast, but I have other pieces that I am concentrating on finishing. I'm not, this one isn't as much as of a priority as some of the other ones. We're getting down into my newer whips, and so the newer ones are going to will probably, they'll get some attention, but not as much as some of the others. Okay, the next is the Chatelaine that I started, Medieval Town Mandala, and I've really enjoyed working on this. This has been really fun. I don't know if I might have stitched this. Yeah, I think I've stitched on this since my last video, so I think I have something to show you. I'll show you what it looked like at the beginning of the year. And I'm really loving how this is turning out. And but this is one of my big pieces that's looks like it's gonna take a long time to stitch. So I don't know how much I'm going to get finished this year. It's stitched on just 32 count antique white Belfast linen with the called for threads. It's mostly NPI, but there's like a whole bunch of different things. There's a lot of petite treasure braid in different colors, different shades of gold in here, and there's other types of silk as well. But this is what it looks like now. So the last time, since you last saw it, I've started working on these buildings over here, and I was able to stitch a couple of buildings, and this was really fun, and I really like how that's turning out. This, you can see in here, let me show you. There's stained glass windows in here that are stitched with Gloriana luminescence, which they're really pretty. There's a lot of colors in that floss, but that was a real pain to work with because it is just so fine. Now, not work with, but I've been, as I stitch with a new color, I put it on bobbins, and this was so fine, it just tangled so easily. Getting it on the bobbin was a real pain, but I really like the effect. These are like dense rose stitches, stitched with that floss that has a whole bunch of different colors, so it really looks pretty. I really like that. And yeah, so this is, I'm hoping next time that I'll be able to stitch down to this corner, and then I have buildings to stitch along the bottom over to here. And so that's kind of what I'm doing, is I'm working on this corner. When I finish this corner, then I'll start working on out from another corner. And there's actually stitches in here that need to be done. I finished them down in this corner, but I'll have to come up here and then work out that way. That's my decision to work through it so that I don't get bored stitching the same thing over and over again, because there are like some things that are stitched 4 times, some that are even stitched 8 times in these buildings, and I don't want to get bored stitching the same thing over and over again. So I think working out from the corner will make it so that there's enough variety that I won't get tired of it. So anyway, but yeah, I'm really happy with this. No way this will be finished this year. It's going to take some time. And then this next whip This is Dragon Quaker by Stickydan von der Fienberg. And this has been really fun to stitch. And I think I've worked on this since the last time I made a video as well, so I have new progress to show you. I'll show you what it looked like the last time you saw it. Or I should say, what it looked like at the beginning of the year. And I'm stitching this on 32 count Dirty Belfast Linen, stitching with the called for colors. I like dragons and I like these colors. I really like the colors. The blues and purples and greens, those are some of my favorite colors. So this is what it looks like now. I'm stitching with DMC, 2 strands of floss over 2 fabric threads. And basically, I was able to stitch this dragon. Since you saw it last. So I have another dragon. I'm a little bit, this has never happened to me before. I ran out of one color and so started with another skein of that color. This is DMC. I've never seen this happen with DMC. Maybe it's pre-pandemic DMC versus post-pandemic DMC because they shut down production for a while, and maybe, I don't know. Anyway, you can kind of see, I think you can see it, that this half of the dragon is just a shade lighter than this half. I'm trying to decide whether or not it bugs me. If I decide it bugs me, then I'm going to have to take out all of this and restitch it in the new color. I don't know. I don't know that I'm up to doing that, so I may just leave it. But yeah, you can see that that's definitely just a shade lighter than this. Which is, I guess, it doesn't really matter. I mean, I guess I'll say this. What do you think? That's a lot to take out. That's a lot to take out and restitch. But yeah, everything else looks really good. I hope I don't run into that with some of my other colors. But yeah, this is Dragon Quaker by Stickydan von der Fienberg. And I really like how it's turning out in spite of that. Okay. Oh, that one, it's not as big as the others. This is, if you look at my whip status, there are some projects that kind of stick out because there's more of them done. That's one of them. So, okay. My next whip is Sunshine and Shadows by Graphs by Barbara and Cheryl. This is a picture, it's full coverage, and it's a picture of a yard. And I really like this because I like the way the light plays in this picture. I really like that, the way it looks. So I'll show you what it looked like at the beginning of the year, and I'm stitching this on 32 count Ivory Lugana. I don't think it's, I'm pretty sure it's Lugana. It's not an even, it's not linen, but it's ivory. The color doesn't really matter because it's full coverage. Stitching with the call for DMC, 2 strands over 2 fabric threads, and this is what it looks like now. So I've got all of this stitched. This is mostly the walkway that runs through here, and we're starting to see, this is a picket fence. So I'm excited to work on this because I'm excited to get more up into this area, because these colors down here are kind of drab. They're not drab up here, so it will be good to see those take shape. But yeah, this is Sunshine and Shadows by Graphs by Barbara and Cheryl. Okay. The next one is English Cottage Sampler by Theresa Wensler. This is my current Theresa Wensler project. One of the rules is that you have to be stitching on a Theresa Wensler. So this is the project that I am working right now. And I have really enjoyed working on this and look forward to getting more stitched. So I'm stitching this on, I'll show you what it looked like at the beginning of the year. I am stitching on 32 count flax Belfast linen, stitching with 2 strands over 2 fabric threads. And of course, this is what it looks like now. So I finished the bottom border and I'm working across here with this. I kind of got discouraged with this, but hopefully the next time I stitch I'll be able to finish this little border, and then things are going to get really interesting. I'm going to get into the swans. There's swans that are swimming through here, and that'll be really cool to see. But yeah, so this is another big project, and I am looking forward to working on it some more. Okay. So from the Red House sampler to this, these are all projects that I started in 2020. And I'd already created myself a big hole with that, and then I decided to add to the hole. So the rest of these projects are projects that I started in 2021. So I don't have a picture to show you, I guess. The first of these is Joy. This is a design by RETM. This was a Christmas present in 2020 from my wife, and my kids, basically. And it's a series of 3, so this is the first. I've got 2 to stitch after this. And this one is the one that has the nativity in the middle of it. So I'll show you how much I was able to stitch of it. This is stitched on 28 count Cassia linen with the called for DMC. Stitched 2 strands over 2 fabric threads. And this is how much is stitched. I've stitched, this is the last motif across the top, so I've almost stitched the entire width across the top. And I need to finish this, and then we'll be working to fill in some of the stuff here. But yeah, so I'm really happy with this. It's been really fun to stitch. So this is Joy by RETM. My clothespin just fell apart. Just a sec. Okay, there we go. Next, the next piece that I started last year. This is a design by a reproduction by Hands Across the Sea Samplers and Borrett, 1646. I saw the model before it was actually announced at Men's Stitching Night at the Attic, and when I saw it, I just loved it, and I knew that I wanted to stitch this. And if you followed me Anyway, I'll show you how much I've been able to do. I haven't stitched a whole lot of this, and I need to look up, just a second, I need to look up what fabric I'm stitching this on. That does not seem right. I am going to have to look. This says I'm stitching it on 40 count straw by weeks, but I don't think that's what this is. So this may be a mystery linen. I think this is something by Legacy Linen. I'm gonna have to think about that. Anyway, I am stitching one thread over 2 fabric threads, and I actually think it's 46 count. And that bugs me. I don't think I recorded the correct fabric in my log. Anyway, this is all that I've been able to accomplish. I stitched the top border, and then I started working on this. I think I detailed how I was having a hard time with the Montenegrin stitch. I figured out how to do the Montenegrin stitch, but this seems to be something that I can only do in small doses. So with my new rotation of 3 days on a project, I think I'll be able to do this slow and steady. Maybe until I get the hang of it a little bit more. The biggest problem I have is counting with the Montenegrin stitch. So we'll see how this goes. But this is Ann Borrett, 1646. 46 count Legacy in it's like sycamore seed pod or something like that. Foxtail millet. That is what it is. I'm pretty sure it's 46 count foxtail millet by Legacy. It's really nice linen. I really like it. Okay, so I have a lot of work to do on this. Okay, then I stitched the winter version of this. This is a series of 4 seasonal samplers. Cooler Design Studio, Sandy Orton. This is the autumn sampler. I've already stitched the winter sampler, and I want to stitch all 4, so I decided that I needed to start working on that. I have several series that I've stitched. The winter part of the series, I need to stitch the other parts. So I pulled this one out just to do that. So not a whole lot of progress on this, but I'm happy with what I've been able to accomplish and look forward to stitching more. This is stitched on 28 count Monaco, tea-dyed Monaco with the DMC 2 strands over 2 fabric threads. And this is where I am. So basically I've stitched a cat, and I'm starting to stitch the little girl that is dressed as a witch. I've got the first border, that ribbon that comes across that's moons, so that's kind of fun. And this banner down here that will eventually say Happy Halloween is getting pretty close to done. I'm getting into pumpkins, so that'll be kind of fun. So I look forward to stitching on this more. Okay, we're getting close to the end. 2 more, I think. Yeah, 2 more. Okay. And Gott, 1848. This is by Needlework Press. This was the Attic Needlework Stitch Along for 2021. I haven't stitched along with them very well. But yeah, I started it. So, and this is stitched on 46 count straw by Weeks Dye Works. And I'll show you, and I'm also stitching using the 103 silk Verswa 103 silk. And that's all I've been able to stitch. This is the top corner with a couple of flowers. So, yeah, this one's got a long ways to go. But, you know, it's a sampler. If I actually concentrated on it, I don't think it'd take that long to stitch. It's just really young compared to all of my other whips, and so it's going to take some time. And then finally, this has got to be one of my favorites that I'm working on. And it's going to take so long to stitch, but it's so pretty. Louise Lallier by Reflex des Soies. I just love everything about this sampler. And she is a big, big sampler. Probably the largest I've ever stitched. Stitch count-wise. And she's pretty complicated. So she's going to take a while. But I am stitching this on 40 count Verdal even weave. And I am stitching with the DMC instead of the silk. So this is what all that I have been able to stitch. I've stitched a couple of repeats of the border, and I started stitching letters. My plan is right now to continue working across the top border and fill in the letters at the same time. And like I say, I really love this border. But it is so complicated. It's a joy to stitch. I thought I'd get sick of it, but I really love stitching it. It just takes a while. It takes me a couple of days to stitch one section of the border. But there's so many colors and it's so vibrant. I just love this and am looking forward to stitching even more. Okay, so that's my last whip. Wow. That is 14 whips. And that is a lot of work. And like I say, I've got to dig myself out. I feel more comfortable with 6, right around 6. So I've got to somehow cut the number of whips that I have in half. I don't think that I'll be able to do that by not starting anything until I hit 6 whips. That's a long time away. Like I say, I think right now, I think I will be able to finish 3 or 4 things this year. That's kind of what I'm thinking. Of course, Amid Amish Life is almost finished, so that will be my first finish. A couple of samplers and maybe Queen Anne's lace. That's kind of what I'm thinking. And I'm going to continue working how I have been. When Amid Amish Life is finished, I am going to choose another focus piece and then work through my rotation 3 days a piece. Or so two whips a week. So it'll be focus piece, 2 whips, focus piece, 2 more whips, all the way down. I really like how that's turning out. I'm not making as much progress on the pieces that are not focus pieces, but I'm getting through my rotation better. So, and I really like that. So here's what I'm thinking. I am thinking that I'm not going to let myself start something until I have had 2 finishes. And then when I start something, I'm going to try to start something that is on the smaller side, because what's going to happen to me is I have these samplers in between large projects. Those samplers are all going to get finished, and I'm going to get this great big huge glut of great big huge projects that I have to finish. And so starting large things is just going to make that problem even worse. So what I'm thinking is I'm going to work on starting small pieces that won't take as much time to stitch. And I'm also thinking that I'm going to concentrate on starting parts of the seasonal series that I've already started, like the drawn thread seasonal gardens, the Quakers, the Rosewood Quakers, seasonal Quakers, and of course I've got the Cooler Design Studio. I think those are the three those are the three series that I've kind of started. I decided I need to work through those to get those finished. They're relatively small, and so I think that starting those will be a good way to go. So we'll see. I'm really definitely adamant about not starting anything until I have 2 finishes, and that will eventually get my count down to what I think is a more manageable size. So that's kind of my overall plans for the year. I want to have 3 finishes, maybe 4, and that would mean 2 starts. And we'll just work through it then. I've done Mania 2 years. I'm not doing Mania this year. There's no way. And I said that at the beginning of last year, and I did it. No, I really I can't do Mania again. So I've learned my lesson, and I need to dig myself out of what I've done. So that's kind of the theme for this year, is getting my whip count down and trying to get good progress on everything else. So if you want to follow me and see how this happens, you can follow me for daily progress on Instagram. My name is @blitstitch on Instagram. As always, if you've enjoyed this video, please feel free to like it. I always love hearing from you, and would be glad to answer any questions that you have for me. And if you haven't, feel free to subscribe to this channel and ring the bell. That way you can be notified when I post new videos. Thank you for spending so much time with me, going through all my whips. I hope that all is well with you and that you have a great month, and we will talk to you later. Goodbye.